Reno too, right? So you guys could hit the Reno match.
Reno, there's Grand Junction, any of the Arizona matches are within a day's drive.
So I got Jerome. Okay, I'm not gonna butcher your guys' name. Jerome, is it Levitt?
It's Jerome Levitt.
Jerome. Okay.
Yep.
So I said it wrong already. Jerome Levitt, and then Zach Miller. Can't get that one wrong.
Nope.
And I'm Shane Scott. These two gentlemen were in my group here at the NRLX, I guess, what was it, March Meltdown Utah match in northern Utah?
The Mud Meltdown.
The Mud Meltdown. That's what it should have been
called. Definitely mud.
I told Weston after the match, I was like, you got to try to, hook up with Vortex next year and do what they did for the Polar Vortex. Call it instead of doing Polar Vortex, call it like the mudslide, Vortex mudslide, or like something to do with mud and Vortex. That would be a cool little branded match there. But yeah, so
the thing with Utah is you never know. It could be mud, it could be snow, it could be sunny and warm.
Oh, yeah. Well, so it's driving back from Utah. I hit a snowstorm in Montana. The Bozeman Pass was dumped on. Then it opened up to a nice rain, nice hard rain, and then all of a sudden I get home and it's a nice sunny day. So yeah, you really never know, especially like in Montana, Utah, Idaho, these close to the Rocky Mountain states, that you never know what the weather is going to be this time of year. It could be negative 10 degrees snowing, it could be 70 degrees sunny. So, but these two gentlemen were in my squad at the match. We had a couple other gentlemen. They just couldn't make the podcast, but there was a lot of J's. So we had Jim, Jerem, Jared. It was really hard for me to remember everyone's name, but Zach's was simple. He was really the only one I could remember your name. But yeah, it was a good course of fire. You guys all did very well. I didn't do great. I was doing decent. I felt like I kind of kept up with you guys on like the first 8 stages, and then the 9th and the 10th and 11th, 12th, that I just started to fall apart. I think on the 12th and the 13th stage, I got a 0 on 12 and 13. I think I got like a 4. It was really bad the last 2. But I know Jared, who isn't here, he ended up getting 2nd. Zach, you were what, 5th? And
yep.
Jerem, what did you end up getting? I think you were up there too, weren't you?
I think I ended up like 14th.
Oh, you were around me? Oh yeah, you were 14th. Yep. That's still, I mean, to be honest, the gap actually wasn't that bad. I mean, looking at kind of all the scores, it was a pretty close ball game. Besides the guys all, in the top 5 were all pretty close. But other than that, you guys were all in the 1,000 to 1,090 range. So, Zach, you barely missed out on 4th. You had the tied and ended up having to go to the time stage to determine the 4th place. So you were really close to getting 4th.
Well, remember stage 3, the mistake I made on stage 3 of not shooting the 3-point bonus flapper.
We all did that.
All
did except Jared. Yep.
Yeah, mistake.
And the best part is too, all of us called time, and then we all said, all right, we're going to go for it just for the fun. And we all hit the freaking flapper. The hostage flapper. Like, oh, that was...
Well, Jared even said, you got to go for it in matches like this. Those points will make the difference. And boy, was he right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get those matches like the NRL Course of Fire where you have like a know your limit stage where you miss and you're done. And those scare you. Those like traumatize you to the point where like you get to that like a big match and you're like, I'm just going to play it safe. I'm going to play it safe. And then it ends up biting you in the butt because, playing it safe, that would have bumped you up. So, I mean, yeah, that,
I definitely learned my lesson there.
Yeah, but then watch you go for it, you miss, and then you're mad at yourself. There's no winning in that situation,
Zach and I both know shooting at Hobble Creek, those matches are decided by 1 shot or less every match.
1 point. Yep.
I mean, those guys. I mean, Zach's won matches only missing 2 shots all day. A guy last month shot the monthly Course of Fire, and he only missed 1 shot all day.
Yeah.
So we
Yep.
know we know how much just one impact can make a difference.
Oh yeah.
Make or
Yeah.
break.
Yep, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, it comes down to who's willing to risk it for the biscuit. I mean, that's all what it comes down to. Who has the most guts and but then again, you have to hit your shot, so you could go for it all, but if you would have missed, was it like a -3 penalty or something like that? So,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
went from a
Yep.
9 to a 6.
yeah. So either you
So
get a
yeah.
13 or well, actually, to be honest, right there, just doing the math, you either gain 4 or lose 3. I mean, it's kinda almost just worth it going for it and getting that extra point, 4 points, but yeah, none of
Well,
us thought that
I
way except Jared.
so I can't remember who shot right after me, but they flipped that flipper back to the center because we were one of the. I mean, what we were the second squad that was at that stage, and when that flipper came back, I looked at it. And I couldn't have been more dead center of that flipper. And I'm just like going, you idiot,
Yeah,
take those points.
yep, when I shot it too after it, I mean, I shot it and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna miss, no problem," and boom, I hit it hard and spun the thing. I'm like, "Gosh," like, I didn't even believe in myself there, and I nailed the heck out of it, so, yeah,
Well, it
that was a
doesn't
pretty
help
cool
that that
stage.
was our 3rd stage. So,
Yep,
we're
Yeah.
just barely getting started. We don't wanna, be messing around losing points. I mean, maybe if we'd have shot that second to last, yeah, I'd have been going for it. Like, I would have known where I
Yeah,
was
you're
early
getting
right.
on,
more during the day,
you're
but
trying to save yeah, early on,
yeah,
you're trying to save,
you don't wanna drop 3 points from a miss on a flapper at the beginning of
yep,
the day. So it's just kinda like
yeah.
Jared said, you gotta go for it regardless, and yeah, I wish I'd have went for it for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's an extra 30 points right there. That bumps you from 14th to 10th, 11th or 9th. You'd be 10th or 9th, so you'd
so
be
yeah,
pretty
that's
close
5
right there.
5
Yeah,
spots with
yep,
1 shot.
yep, yeah. That's a big yeah. That's what I'm saying. Majority of the pack was determined within a couple shots. I mean, you know, you 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 were really close. I mean, like I said, the flipper right there would have bumped you up a lot. So yeah, it was a fun day. I think I would say, what do you guys think your favorite stage was?
Oh boy.
I really
Typically,
like
I
the
like the long.
go ahead.
Go
The what?
ahead. I like the long bomb stages. The only thing I didn't like about this long bomb is I felt the targets were a little too big.
I agree.
Even though
Yeah.
I did drop on the far target, I dropped two shots, and I think it was my first one. Might have been my first two until I got my wind,
Yep.
but they were just a little bit too big. But I don't know. Yeah, I always like going long.
Do you guys do
Um,
that much at your match? So with your monthly matches you guys do the NRL course fire. Do they do any bonus stages or just the NRL course fire?
we always shoot a bonus stage, but we're kind of limited to about 200 yards.
Gotcha.
Um, so yeah, we've shot some out at distance, but usually it's up there on the berm at about 124. So you're not really pushing it.
Yeah, we at our match, I mean, geez, like so we do our own series up in Montana and in the North States and we like our like a couple months ago, the guy who put on the match did a 400-yard coyote, and that was a blast. Or no, it might have
Wow.
been a little bigger than a coyote. I think it was some animal shape, but it was at 400 yards, and you had to take what I think you had 1 or 2 shots at it. Oh, that's a blast, man. I mean, that is an absolute blast. I think like barely anyone hit it, but it was just a really fun long shot. But yeah, our range, we could push. I mean, they had the WPR finals, the Western Precision Rifle League finals at our range, and they have room to go past a mile. So we have a big distance that we can shoot at our club. So it kind of gave me a little bit of advantage on the long stuff. I think I did pretty good in that long one. I can't remember. I think I did drop 2 on the long. On the first, because you had to go far, near, far, and I think the same thing.
Yep.
Like my first 2 shots, I couldn't figure out the wind, but once I hit it, I think I hit all of them thereafter. So I think I really only dropped like 2. I think I got a 13 or a 12 on stage one. Um, That
Yeah,
wind
I
was
was.
weird. That wind was really weird because it wasn't a high wind, but I felt like the wind wasn't just a left to right. Like, it kinda kept changing throughout the day.
Yeah,
So,
it was. It was for sure. In fact,
I
it
kept
was.
overestimating the wind. I always kept thinking it was way more than it was.
yeah. Well,
And
I
it
put
always
all the information in my Kestrel and I held up, got my Kestrel winds. Kestrel's telling me 5, 6 mile per hour winds. And then I go out there and it's like not even. I mean, it's like 2 mile. I mean, there was wind, but not nearly as what it was saying on the Kestrel. So I don't know if it just maybe the wind was high and something was, I don't know. It was very weird. Yeah. It didn't seem like there was much wind, even though the wind was blowing. It didn't affect the bullet that much.
Yeah.
yeah, it was yeah, the winds were tricky. They were hard to and they were never constant. It was never a solid 8. It was an 8 to a 1, so it was really you had to feel it all day. You had to have that feel, which I just a lot of stages did not have.
Well, it was like that stage that was off the rooftop at the KYL.
That was a fun one.
Now, I could see my bullet every single shot. So my first shot, I guessed on my wind call. I was at like point 0.4 for my initial wind call. I pull up and shoot, and I missed it a tenth. I was like a tenth right. I guess it would have been because the wind was coming left to right. So I got my wind call right off the bat, and then I would feel the wind pick up. I'd feel it die down, and I was just dancing left, right, hit left.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
tricky.
that stage was really
very
weird for me
tricky.
because I don't know if something happened to my scope or I did get home and I cleaned my gun out and I had actually mud built up on the lower part of my rifle and actually underneath the barrel. So I'm wondering if that had messed it up because we know I shot that know your limit stage off the rooftop, 15 shot or 12 rounds or whatever, 15 shots or whatever it was, and I missed all of them. And after I know I loaded another mag and said, "Hey, can I test this out real quick?" I was hitting a mil and a half right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's an extreme
I
difference.
and then on the next stage, I had to hold a mil and a half right to hit those targets on the stage 13. So I don't know. Again, I need to kind of take apart my gun to see what's going on. I mean, maybe I forgot to I have that new Razor Gen 3, so I doubt the turret slipped, but I'm wondering if there's tension Allens on there, and I wonder if I didn't tighten it back up after zeroing in the morning and just it kind of worked its way out and then came loose. I don't know. I need to look at it, but yeah, when we were testing it on stage 12, I was a mil and a half right, and you guys, we're all holding like 2/10, a tenth left. So I don't know what happened on that stage, but I was pissed. I don't know what the frick happened. It's a brand new scope. I just got that Gen 3, so I need to make sure it's not the scope and hopefully it's just was some mud built up touching the barrel or it came loose. I'm gonna take it to the range tomorrow and test it out and see what's going on. But yeah, that was pretty discouraging. I was
Yeah,
pretty
for
upset
sure.
on the last
Well,
stage.
on a day at a match like that with the mud and the conditions and moving from stage to stage. I mean, 13 stages. A lot of things can happen with a rifle. As you're
Oh yeah.
banging it
Yeah,
on
I guess we need to
barricades
say
and
that.
bouncing it off of ladders. Like, doesn't take. I mean, it just takes one bad bounce off something, and then who knows where you're at.
Yeah, I guess we should preface that to everyone who's listening. The match was muddy. That's why you're kind of making the joke about the march, mud down, because it was muddy. Our first stage, the ground was frozen solid. When we got there in the morning, they were hitting T posts in the ground and couldn't. I mean, they were banging them in. It was so frozen they couldn't get anything in. And then, stage one goes. I think we had a fine stage one. And by the time we got to, what was it, stage three or stage four, when we really noticed the mud started to get bad? What was the stage we had to run up? Was that the coyote
Uh,
stage? Stage four, right?
uh, let's
Yeah,
see.
Yep.
Yep,
yeah,
stage 4.
You had a 30 seconds. You had to position your rifle on this prop, and you had to go 10 yards back and on go. You had 30 seconds to run up to your rifle, load your rifle, and hit a coyote with one shot, and you had to hit it If you hit it, it stopped the clock, and you got bonus points for the clock, and then or you can hit it and then hit it in the vital, and you got a bonus 5 points. So it's 5 points for the impact and 5 points for the vital. When we got to that stage, it was mud. The ground had
Yeah.
completely stop being frozen, whatever you want to call it, melted out, and it was bad. I couldn't imagine how everyone else the rest of the day on that stage would have been because it must just got muddier and muddier. But I mean, my boots were covered. It was like ice skating. It was like
Yeah, it
skating
was
in mud on that
sloppy.
stage. Yeah, that was a cool stage. But yeah, the match was extremely muddy. So yeah, just to preface that, on everything we dealt with pretty much after stage 4 was very muddy. Um, that stage is pretty fun. I guess back to what you're saying, Jerem. What was your favorite stage?
I always like stages that you got to move a lot and change positions. So, I mean, I really liked the railroad ties where you had, 10 shots, I believe, 10 different positions. I like stages like that where it's just constant movement and it takes a little bit of planning ahead of time because if you don't map it out, figure out where you're going to move next, I mean, you lose all your time. You don't get all your shots off. And so I really like that stage.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what stage was that.
That was the dancing diamond.
Was it the
Yeah, I
diamond?
believe that was
Not,
6. Stage
Oh,
6.
that's right. That was stage 6. Yep. That
yeah,
diamond target. Have you guys shot a what are they called?
Snake
Oh,
charmer.
a snake charmer? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very
Hmm.
similar to a snake charmer to me, but I think even harder than a snake charmer because a snake charmer can never go flat, where that dancing diamond
Right.
could go straight on at you and completely be flat. So you're, now going from a I don't know, was a 2-3 inch wide target, maybe 4 inches wide, 5 inches wide, going from that to what quarter, half inch, whatever, 3/4 inch,
quarter,
quarter
quarter at least.
quarter inch
Yeah.
piece of metal. I mean, gosh, I got lucky and never had to go side. I know Jared did. He had to go straight on at him. I think you did too,
Yeah.
Zach, didn't you? And it
that
came.
was one. That was one of the stage. I mean, that was my worst stage of the day. 4 points on that. Every time I got down, that sucker was sideways, and I'd miss it by a half a bullet width each side,
Yeah.
just time after time. And so the funny thing is, I was so pissed off that I now have a dancing diamond in the back of my truck. I went and built one just to practice because it pissed me off so bad.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how
That's
you walk away from a match like that and you know exactly what you want to work on and the things that
Yep,
irritated you. It's like, okay, I'm going to figure this one out. If I never shoot it again, oh well, but I'm going to know how to do it.
yep,
that's a big thing with spinners. I know multiple people at some of our clubs up in Montana that, they have shot a spinner and they do not understand it. And they, every time they shoot, they end up stopping the momentum, and just stopping it straight on. And they'll go out and buy a spinner and just go take the range and practice and practice and practice and practice because they just cannot figure out a spinner. So yeah,
yep,
I mean that dancing diamond I kind of want to get now just for our club because
yep.
that is pretty cool. We have our moving targets are always fun. Anything that can bounce and move and have some type of challenge, so it's not just a stagnant position or a stagnant target, is always fun. I mean, there's
Well,
go ahead.
I mean, I just the fact that not only was the target moving, but you had 10 positions in 90 seconds to make that happen. So you're shooting a mover that's most likely a quarter inch wide with 10 positions in 90 seconds.
Yeah, and the positions weren't even really. I mean, yeah, I guess the sides are a little close to each other, but it's not like a stage where it's a railroad tie going straight and you can just pick up your bag and move 2 inches and reset. You had to like move up the railroad ties because they were
Yep,
stacked. So you had to move up on the side because they're all different. Lengths sticking out. So you had little ledges you had to shoot all the way up. You only could shoot off the top of it once, and then you had to go down the other side. And then usually I think we had like 2 shots left, so you had to go in the middle. There was like
yep,
cutouts in the tank or into the railroad ties and you had to shoot. That was a really good stage. I did really like that stage. I still think
yeah,
my
Yeah.
favorite one was the unknown distance, no rangefinder pop can challenge. That was or pop can stage. That was a blast. I saw that while sitting at freaking a little sushi restaurant up there in Tremonton, like see the course of fire get posted, and I'm like, unknown distance, no rangefinder. I'm like, what in the world is this bullshit? I'm coming down from Montana, I have to deal with math. So, but that was awesome that we figured that out, and we did the formula and did the math, and that was
Yeah,
awesome. Some
that was
groups.
good. That one definitely separates, you know, separates shooters there. Those that really know shooting, and then those that just shoot. To know the math and how to range something with a mill or MOA reticle, I mean that's the knowledge there to be able to
Yeah, well,
do
it's
that.
cool. It's cool too. A couple guys had asked in the morning, and they were talking about it, and I kind of gave them the formula. And I know Jared did too. And then they ended up still doing it wrong because they thought a pop can was 5 inches and not 4.75. So that throws off the whole distance right there. So I heard a couple squads did it wrong because they thought a pop can was 5. So they had a little bit of wiggle room on the near targets. When they got to the far, their math was just off, and they were missing all the far targets. So yeah, that was a really fun stage. I think again, we did it, and I guess he probably maybe should write it down in the future. There maybe needs to be like, prep time on that stage where, you can go sit there and prep. I mean, he let us have prep time, but, just so that if someone got there and didn't know, they could sit there and kind of get some math settled real quick. Because 2 minutes to do 10 rounds and do the math, if you had to do it all in the clock, there's just no way. There's no way you
Well,
could
Yeah,
have gotten that.
you'd be guessing.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So,
we got to give props to Jared for milling those out for us because I feel like I arranged it after, and I think we were money the whole way out, from what I recall.
yeah, I think he was pretty spot on. I think someone else that said the same thing was talking about the yard. They ranged it after the mat, or after they were done with it, and I think we were pretty much. I think the only one we were a tad bit off was the long one, and it wasn't by much. I think it was like maybe 5 yards. It wasn't that far off. So, yeah, I think he pretty much got them all spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he did
So
really well. And the part of that match that I really loved was the fact that there was no backers to those targets, so you couldn't shoot that stage and then see where you missed and see that your math was
incorrect.
wrong because those targets are
Yep,
so
Yep.
you were
elevated, so you
blind.
had no idea. And I loved that part of that whole match was that the targets were blind to misses. So you couldn't just fling lead out there and then say, "Oh, I'm missing high," and then correct it and get points. If you weren't right with your
Yeah,
math, you were screwed. That was it.
yeah, that
Yep.
was really nice about all of them being elevated targets, and there was a big hill behind it, so obviously like wasn't like we're skylining rounds,
Right.
but yeah, I mean there was no way you could really tell your misses. I mean you had to really, like that one stage where you had to hit the spinner and then hit the target behind it. I mean that stage was really the only one close enough to the ground where you could kind of see your impacts, but it was still hard because when you're not impacts, your misses. Because even if you missed on that stage, the dirt kicked up, but it kicked up like it splashed way behind it. So you really didn't
Yeah.
know, like, did you hit and it skipped or
Well,
what?
yeah, with the
So
mud
that
and
stage,
everything else, you
yep,
just had no idea.
Well, when
yep,
you were shooting that, Jerem, you kept, like, I swear you were low in the mud, but then you were thinking you were like high and right or something, weren't you?
Yeah, I that one still baffles me. I'm still mad about it. I'm kind of like you this weekend when I get some time, I'm going to go out and shoot and figure out why it was doing that cuz yeah, to me I
Yeah.
thought you guys were saying low and I could see the splashes, but then when I'm making corrections, my correction was I needed to aim lower than I was dialed for to get impacts, but if that doesn't make any sense, like how could I be high?
Well,
So yeah, the whole thing has me so confused.
I'm also wondering on that stage though too. The target that was behind it wasn't really a moving target. So when you hit it, it was more of like it was almost like the target was stuck in place with something. I don't know what he was using for a target behind it. But when you hit it, it was still very hard to tell you hit it. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if some of them did hit it and it was hitting and tumbling, and then we
Well,
saw the kick from the mud after. Because a
I
lot of the
don't.
impacts, you couldn't really tell it impacted. Beside, you could see kind of like the dirt kicking off the target. That's really all you could tell.
Well, do you
Yeah.
remember me arguing with Jared on that? Because one of my last shots, um, I mean, if that spinner was just moving the littlest bit, you could sneak a bullet right around that. And I shot once, and I watched that bullet smack the plate
Hmm.
that counted for a point. And Jared, I mean, you can't argue with somebody on a spotter, but
No, of course, but yeah, I see what you mean. Like you think you hit it, and it looked like you hit it, but for a spotter's point of view, it's hard to tell if you even hit that. That was probably the only target I could say all day that was kind of hard to tell if you were impacting. The rest of them,
Yeah.
yeah,
you hit it, you knew. That one, I think a lot of us had more impacts than we thought. I think a lot of us were like a lot of those hits we were calling not hits because it was so hard to tell if you got an impact on that one.
yeah,
It
there was
just,
no
Well,
give.
yeah,
well, in 100
no,
yard, it was 100, 101. I think we ranged it back and forth, kind of came up with 100 on a center fire spinner with a 22. I mean,
yeah,
it
you
took
had to hit
Yep.
four
it.
it took 4 shots on the plate to even get the thing to swing out of the way enough to hit the other target.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you could be hitting that spinner a little high a little high with that 22 and not even know that you moved it at that
Yeah, that's
distance.
one thing I've seen a lot of match directors do is when they want to spin it like a peekaboo stage like that, they'll try to do like a center fire spinner because it's harder to hit, but it actually makes it worse. You should actually just use a 22 spinner. And the reason why is because if you hit a 22 spinner 2, 3 times, that thing is spinning. And now it actually is really hard to time the shots behind it. Like I've
Yeah.
gotten it before
Yes.
where I'm shooting at it and I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to fire now, and I end up hitting it again, and it spins the thing even faster, and you're like, oh shit. So now the thing's
Yep.
spinning 100 miles an hour. You're like, how do I time this? So yeah, I like it when people do. I love peekaboo stages. I've done a couple of them at my matches. I love using just a 22 spinner on it because it actually, I think it even makes it harder. And more challenging. The center fire one, it just didn't move enough. You barely got it
Yeah.
moving. You had to hit it a bunch of times, and it would not. I mean, I don't think you could spin it with a 22, could you? I mean, it would be
I
very
don't
hard to
know.
spin that
I
thing
don't
completely,
Maybe with a 1022 with some high velocity
and you
rounds you
poking it.
might get it going, but personally I
I
don't.
should have brought out my Ely Contact 42 grainers. Those
There
things
you go.
those hit a little hard. So
Personally, I just
yeah,
don't like
those
those peekaboo stages. They're just kind of gimmicky to me, and this is just my opinion, but you just spend a ton of rounds just to try to get, a shot on target. And I don't know. I'm just not a fan of them.
yeah, I can see that. I can see what you're saying.
It's just, it's
Other than
one
that,
distance, so you just dial to it, and then you just fling a bunch of rounds and hope you get the timing right. You know,
yeah, it's all
I
about
think
it's all
they're
about timing. It's like hitting a mover. A mover's kind of the same with me. It's a static distance, but you just got to know your lead. So I mean,
yeah, but at
that's
least
kind
you
of the
can
same
figure out and do
principle
the
on that.
math, and there's some, marksmanship there, and figuring, how many miles per hour is that mover moving? What's my mill hold? What's my mill lead? Something like that. A spinner, there's nothing there other than just flinging lead as fast as you can in hopes that you can get
Yeah,
that thing out of the way to score a point. That's
yeah,
just my take.
yeah.
I don't know.
I think that one was pretty fun. I think the T post stage was a little, the dueling tree one that was pretty. I think honestly, that stage is where I started to notice some problems. With my scope. And then the next stage with the rocks, that was actually a pretty fun stage. I like that one. Just different positions on the rocks, and you had to change your mag 3 times to get 12 rounds off. That was pretty fun. I need to get myself one of those. Whose bag was it? The Arca. It went on your Arca. It was a bag. I think it was by what, Armageddon or one of the bag companies that
Oh,
has
That
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 yeah.
little
was that was Mike. That was a Coltac bag.
cold tack. I need to get one of those, man. Those are pretty cool. That was actually really cool. I like that. Um,
I have played with the Coltac bag and the Gray Ops bag. The Coltac bag that I have works really good as long as you've got a fairly flat surface. Because it's kind of narrow. Or I need to take a little bit of fill out of it too. But other than that, it feels like that Gray Ops that's a little bit wider is a little more stable. But I do like that Coltac flat bag. I think it's like the Backbone or
yeah, it's
something
the
like
Yeah,
backbone.
that.
That's what it is.
yeah, the
I
Coltac
have a bunch of
backbone.
bags. I have Weebat and Coltac and Gray Ops, and I mean, I've tried them all, and Armageddon makes some good stuff, and I think it's all personal preference when it comes to that type of stuff. Um, I mean, even like you guys heard of Defiance Actions? They're out of Montana. They make
Yeah.
some nice centerfire actions. They even make a bag partner with Armageddon now. So I mean, there's tons of. I mean, there's another guy in Montana named Body Bags. He makes some bags. I mean, I feel like bags. You just really have to find the one that it's going to work best for you. I think it's kind of all personal preference. Some of them have heavy fills, some have light fills. Some people like folding their bags over and get in a flat position. Some like to grip onto things. I mean, you could have probably 400 bags with you, throughout a day if you really needed one
Oh
for every
yeah,
shot. So,
definitely. Yeah, I kind of just
but that was a really cool bag.
yeah, personally with bags, I have avoided buying too many. I mean, like you said, there's a billion different bags and variations out there, and my philosophy has always just been kind of keep it simple. So I kind of just
Yeah,
have bought one that I've really liked, and that's the only one I've used. Just because I know if I buy more, then I'm just never gonna know which bag to use on what stage, and it's just one more thing to confuse about. But that match definitely opened my eyes to like having bag options. Like
yeah.
Jared
Yeah.
had several bags, and he could manipulate them and stack them, which definitely made a difference.
I'm
Well,
surprised, I had my pump pillow, and I'm surprised not really anyone there had pump pillows. I mean, um, I don't know if Jared had one or not, but I love getting a pump pillow and being able to tuck it under your arm and stuff and get it in a flat position. And even just having that type of bag, I really enjoy having. I didn't see too many guys using those. So, I guess to each their own of what they use. Um, that actually is a good
Yeah.
question to ask you guys. So, real quick, let's start. Zach, what gun do you use? And you want to go over your gear of what you use?
yep, I shoot a Bergara BMR. Scope is the simple Vortex PST in an XLR chassis, just that stock gun, which I like. I did end up getting the Area 419 Arca rail with weight,
That was a
just
really
so I
nice rail.
yeah, just so I could balance it out. And it's actually the rail itself was designed to be flipped around. That rear hole is supposed to basically be where your action screw goes up. But to get that gun to balance, I had to flip that rail around, um, just to get it to balance perfect. Um, but man, that's a sweet shooting little gun. It's not too heavy. I kind of fight going back and forth of, do I like heavy? Do I like light? Uh, just in the sense of, honestly, is it practical? Am I going to pack that gun around and go shoot prairie dogs if it's a 20-pound gun? No. Okay, so let's make it something that I might actually use at something else other than a match. So I'm kind of trying to be in like a middle spot as far as weight.
Yeah, not super ultra carbon fiber, super lightweight, but also not too heavy. Kind of find a middle ground, a practical middle ground.
Yeah, but the more I shoot, the honestly the lighter my setup gets, and that's not the way that's it's going.
Yeah, I was gonna
Everybody's
say
adding
that's
weight.
very interesting because yeah, a lot of guys want to get heavier and heavier. I mean, I have a lot of have a 3 pound weight on the front of mine to balance it out, and that's just more for balance. I want that. I shoot a Bergara B14R as well, and that's my big problem with the Bergara is it's a beautiful gun. I love it, but it's so rear heavy that I need that front weight to center it down so I can get behind a tank trap and just set my gun down and it's not going to tip. It's going to sit planted
Yep.
perfect there. Um,
Yeah.
so you run sorry B14R and the XLR chassis running a Vortex was PST.
PST. Yep.
What bipod using?
Skypod, and it's that
Of course.
the shorter one. I can't remember what the shorter one's called. But it's shorter than the I don't know the other ones that I see. It's a
Yeah,
couple inches shorter.
they have the long legs, so they can have yeah, yep, I know what you mean. So you're doing that, and then you got the front 419 weight system on there with the Arca, and then do you ever change the trigger out or using the stock trigger?
It is a Trigger Tech, and it's not the diamond. It's the one right below it. I can't
Yeah, the
remember what it
special
is.
or whatever.
Yeah, I've got a bajillion Trigger Techs, and I don't honestly know what's in that gun, but it's a Trigger Tech.
Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty much close to my original setup was the same thing. I had a Trigger Tech dime or special in it, and then I was running a Strike Eagle. Now I've kind of won some stuff, so I have a what is it? I think it's an Atlas bipod, one of those wide leg ones. I have one of those. I have a MDT XRS chassis hybrid kind of stock hybrid combo. That has a built-in arc on it, which is pretty nice, and a front weight on there. Running Vortex Gen 3, brand new scope, love it. It's beautiful, super, super, super clean. And then I have a Bix Nandy trigger in there, which I love for my Bergara. It's awesome trigger. Very adjustable, can change everything out on it, can take it apart and not have to void the warranty, which is awesome. Change everything you want about it. And I think that's really about it. Um, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm running. And then what about you, Jerem? What are you running?
So I'm running a Rim X in a XLR chassis with Athlon Air East ETR and
Shout out to
Trigger Tech.
Athlon.
Yep,
They're
for
a great
sure. I'm a
company.
diehard Athlon fan. I have
Yep,
like
they
8 of them. So
Yep, they just sponsored our championship match for the Pro Series. They're awesome, so big shout out to them. Thank you.
yep,
Vortex is also a sponsor too, so I guess I can't not shout them out as well. So
for sure.
thank you, Vortex. But yeah, Athlon, they're a very good company. Dustin's a good guy over there. Um, and actually, I don't know if you guys know this. Do you guys know about their give back program Athlon is doing?
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah, I was
haven't
gonna say
I do.
participated in it yet, but it's a
go do it.
really
You
cool
you shot a
program.
match. You shot a
I should
match.
do it.
So
Yep, I
go.
should.
It takes 2 seconds. You go on their website. If you shoot any type of shooting match, you go on their website. You pick which state it was in, and write down the name of it. Put your name in there. I think you have to answer a question because there's two different ones you can get entered in. There's one that's the $5,000 cash, and then $5,000 in optics giveaway. They do that, I think, quarterly. And then there's the big one where if you finish in the top 3 with an Athlon optic at a match, you get entered in the $20,000. I think it's cash and $5,000 in optic drawing. They do that once a year. So yeah, and you don't even have to be running Athlon. If you're not running Athlon, you can still do the 5,000 giveaway quarterly. And every match you do, I just fill it out, man, and it's awesome. They're
Yeah,
great
that
and they
is a
give back.
really cool program.
Yep. So if you guys are listening, check that out. It's awesome. It could be any discipline too. I was asking him, I'm like, does it have to be precision? He goes, no, like any shooting discipline. You go on there and fill it out. So yeah, I thought
Yeah,
that
it's
was
really
awesome.
cool. Yeah, that is neat.
So you're running, sorry, Rimex, XLR, Athlon. What bipod you using?
I'm using the Atlas Cal bipod.
Atlas Cow. Yep.
Yep.
I'm using the Atlas Super Cow. That just reminded me what it
Oh,
was.
yep. And then
Yep.
I
I
run
got
a
the
Trigger
wide
Tech
leg.
Diamond for trigger.
Did you guys see the Trigger Tech Black Friday giveaway? Did you see what they were doing?
Mm-mm.
They did a gold trigger
Oh, I did see
on there.
that.
I wanted it so bad it was sold out. I was like, I will go back to my I mean, I still have my Trigger Tech. That's gonna be in my centerfire rifle. But I was like, I want that. Like My girlfriend hates gold. And I literally was like, "Oh my gosh, that'd be the ultimate kind of just, I have a gold trigger," because she hates it. Like I want to, oh, what's that gun that just came out? It's the new SIG competition pistol, the 320 comp, and it's like a gold barrel and a gold trigger. Um, oh, I love. I think Ruger made one of those too, and they're one of their 22 pistols. They have like the gold trigger, gold barrel. I love that. And so when I saw they made a gold trigger, I was all over it. But they sold out so dang quickly. So bummed. I would have loved to throw that back in there. So, but yeah. So that, how do you like your Remex? I've heard a lot of good things about them.
I love my Rimex. I know there are, several people that have had issues with them, but I have never experienced those issues myself. So I don't know if, other people are just getting, a bad one or just getting unlucky. Who knows? But I love mine. It's been a
What
fantastic
barrels on that?
rifle. So that barrel is a benchmark 3 groove that I had spun up.
Okay.
And it actually probably only had, when I started that match, it probably only had like 300 rounds through it. So it's
Oh wow.
still just getting broke in, still just trying to figure out what it wants to do.
Yeah,
But so
she's just
far,
a youngin.
I'm very pleased with that barrel. It shoots really well so far.
And what's the length and what's the twist? Sorry, I didn't hear that part.
So it's a 1 in 16 twist, 3 groove, and
Okay.
it actually,
Three
the
groove.
length ended up being about 19 inches because the gunsmith I
Okay.
had spin it up. He slugged it. So if you're not familiar with that, they push a 22 bullet down the bore, and when the bore gets to its tightest point, it's strict, it has the most friction on the bullet. That's where they'll cut it and crown it. So when he slugged the
Gotcha.
blank, that's kind of where it ended up. So it's about 19 inches.
It's not a bad length. I think
No,
the
no,
standard on what 22s are like 18.
yeah, I wanted 18 and a half to 20. I didn't want to get it too long because I run a suppressor. So, you get a 20
Yeah.
inch barrel with a suppressor, you're 26 inches long at that point, and
Yeah.
that's unpleasant to run a ladder stage with a with a rifle that long.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of guys. That's the thing. Either you're going like 24 inches with that and no suppressor, no threading on there, or you're kind of going down to that 20 mark and getting
Yeah.
that like 6 inch barrel on there. And so, yeah, simulate your center fire rifle long barrel, So
Hmm.
that's
who
exactly what I just did.
who
That's
did your barrel work?
So I sent this
Jerem?
barrel. I sent this barrel out to Gregory Lee Gardner in Illinois. He's he's kind of become more and more popular on the Facebook groups and whatnot. His name kept popping up, and so I picked up this blank, and people kept talking about him. So I messaged him and talked to him quite a bit, and just kind of figured out his process. And he's kind of an old school rimfire gunsmith, with the slugging, and he times his threads to the action. He has his own personal 200-yard range right outside of his shop, his gunsmith shop, where he test fires the barrels. So I just kind of rolled the dice and shipped the barrel out to him, and so far I'm nothing but impressed with his
how
work.
much does
It's just
that cost to get, a like a benchmark barrel, then go send it to someone to get it, finished? How much does that usually run?
so for the barrel, you kind of I mean, you can kind of watch the used or for sale pages. People will sell blanks. Some of these rimfire barrels are really hard to find. Shill and ratchet barrels, they can be hard to find. You kind of have to either just get lucky that somebody gets one in stock or is selling a blank. This benchmark I happened to just find on a classified on a 22 forum online. A gentleman out of Colorado was selling this blank, so I picked it up for about $300, which is about $50 cheaper than they go for from the factory. And then the gunsmithing was 350, but I sent him a full blank, so he had to cut it, machine both ends to fit the Rimex, and then I had it threaded for my suppressor. But that also included him, slugging it out. finding the best place to cut it, and then he chambers
There's
it,
a
and
lot
then
of work that goes into
a
it.
lot
So
of work. And then he micro polishes his chambers. So, I mean, you put a camera and look at the chamber of this barrel, it's a mirror. It is just like polished as polished can get. And so his work was just phenomenal. Just thoroughly
how
impressed
often
with
you
what he
cleaning
did.
that barrel then?
I'm still kind of undetermined. I just kind of shoot them and just wait and see till they, stop shooting good. Basically, I've had
Yeah.
barrels that only go 200 rounds. I've had barrels that'll go, 500-600 rounds. So it just kind of all depends. With it being so new, I haven't really figured out what it likes yet. But so
Yeah,
far, so
22s are
good.
very finicky with that. Like,
Yeah,
I've had like my buddy had an MMP 1522 that he put like 2,000 rounds through before it even needed to be cleaned. I mean, it was dirty, but it still fired completely fine. And then I know other guys who, they got to clean their Bergaras or their CZs like after every match. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
throwing a, a clean or board cleaner dry patch through it, isn't a bad thing, but yeah, it's
right.
crazy what these 22s can do. They're dirty little
And
guys, so
I honestly, I rarely clean the whole barrel. I'll go, you know, 1,500, 2,000 rounds before I even put a patch through the actual barrel. But the chamber, I'll clean quite often. Get that carbon ring
yeah.
out, get it back shiny again. And usually that's all it takes. And it'll come right back to shooting tiny groups again.
Yeah.
I feel like people over clean the bore on a 22.
Yeah, a lot of people like after every match, I talked to some guys always cleaning through it, and it's like, you know, you don't really need to do it. I mean, yeah, the action for sure, especially
Action
on those,
chamber, yes, for
yep,
sure. But the
yeah,
bore, it's a
I
22. There isn't a whole lot. There's no copper fouling in there, and the lead, it leaves
no,
very little lead behind.
yeah, I will clean my chamber after almost every match, but other than
Hmm.
that, I don't think there's a point.
Yeah, I agree. I think you do more harm than good pushing a rod down a 20, a rimfire barrel.
yeah, I agree. I mean, like I know, like my girlfriend's 1022. We got to clean that chamber out like all the time. I mean, that thing just cakes cart. I mean, it's so dirty. It's like, and she just pops around to that thing like crazy. So, but yeah, I mean, cleaning my barrel, I really typically don't. It's usually just my chamber, and
Yeah.
usually it's not a whole lot. So, just clean it out. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, overall, how do you guys rate the match? What do you guys think? You going back next year?
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
If it's an X match, I'm going to it, whether it's good or not.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think
I really like the X matches. They really teach you a lot of stuff that the monthly course of fires just often don't give you. And Zach's
well, I
pretty
like
much
how you get a
mastered the
good
monthlies.
variety of
So
I like you get a good variety of people to come out to these matches too. I mean, like I came from all the way from Montana, so you're not just getting the same local guys. You're getting guys who are a little far away but are willing to travel. So you kind of get a nice variety of people too. I mean, yeah, of course there'll be a lot of local guys because they're close, but it's nice to see how you are doing against guys all over the country. So
yeah,
big
Jared,
shout out to Weston Mott. He put on a phenomenal match. Thank you so much. The March Meltdown was a blast. I think it was ended up being like 180 rounds, 13 stages.
yeah, something like that.
I
So
don't know on a round count, but yeah, that sounds right.
What impressed
I'm
me
just
about
reading off
that
his course of
match,
fire. He's at 180.
Okay, boom.
I'm acting like I know what I'm saying, but I'm just reading off a
yeah,
chart here. So.
what
Take
impressed me about that
that.
match is it finished on time. It
Yes,
finished as he
yeah.
published. Like we will be doing
When I
trophies,
went
at 4, and it was 4 o'clock on the money, and he's reading off the
with a
winners
lunch too. When I
with a
saw there
lunch
was 13
and
stages,
13 stages.
yep. When I
That's
saw there's
that's pretty
13
good.
stages and lunch, I'm like, there's no way we're getting done at 4 o'clock. I'm like, it's gonna be a long day.
And
Were
I
you
think
guys
we were the
sunburnt?
slowest.
I was.
I think we were
I
the
was
slowest squad.
fried. We were, but we also had the most people. I think most squads only had like 4 people, 4 or 5 maybe. We had 5,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, we had
So
5, and we stopped right before the blind stage where we had to figure our yardages. So I mean, there was a good hour
to
there
have
at
our
least that we had to
for
burn.
lunch and everything too.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it was a good day. I had a good time. Definitely will be out there next year. I think that's awesome. I just saw the calendar for the next year's season got posted. So are either of you guys
Oh,
going to the championship match this year?
no.
I don't believe I
You're
will
not
be.
gonna make it out? No? You
No.
guys don't drive to Missouri?
Well, there's this little thing called the turkey hunt and the bear hunt, and
Okay.
they'll ruin a spring if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, they'll take up all your time. I've done a few
My
national
wife,
championships, but that was just a bit too far for me to travel to.
Yeah, I'm on the fence on if I'm going or not. I mean, definitely, I think next year I'm gonna push hard at this. There's a lot of matches I want to go to. There's a few in Minnesota, two in Wyoming, one in Montana, like four in Utah. I'm trying to hit probably like 10 matches next year for the NRL, if not more.
Hmm.
So, but and then I still have my series I put on in Montana, the Pro Series. So I mean, I still got to hit all my monthly matches, our championship, our we have our state champions, and then we have like our four state champions. So we have two big matches up here. So I mean, I'm gonna be busy next year. I don't know how happy my girlfriend's gonna be with me, but I think I'm gonna make a push for it next year and really try. But I haven't decided if I'm going yet. I don't know if I'll even be invited. I had some pretty bad 3 matches, so I think I'm
Yeah,
like out of
typically
the
it
top 100.
typically it's comes down to whoever wants to go can go to the nationals, especially
Yeah,
with a lot of people are gonna have to travel a long ways to go to it. So
yeah. I think
I'm
the
sure
rumor is
anybody
next
that
year it's
wants
going to be
to
in
can go.
Denver, isn't it?
What's that in Denver?
I think the rumor next year they said it was going. Someone was saying that it was going to be in Denver or what's the big match or the big facility they have there in Colorado?
Oh,
Oh,
Grand
Grand
Junction,
Junction,
the Grand
Cameo.
Cameo.
Junction. Yep.
If it's there, I'll
That's
be
what
there.
the rumor I've heard is gonna
That's
be,
only what,
so
4 hours
if it's
from us.
there,
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
yeah,
We'll
if
definitely
it's
be
in
there.
Grand Junction next year, I will 100% be going. And I think a lot of people will too, because that's just gonna be a big, a big central location.
Yeah.
That's
Missouri
a
is good, but
that's a
that's just
great spot to shoot a match at
I heard it's a
Cameo.
phenomenal. I'm going to that. They have an actual match there next year. Um,
Yes.
in where is it here on the map?
XLR Rimfire Rumble.
October
Yep.
8th, Grand Junction, Colorado. I will be at that match. So,
That's
I
a
was
bad
talking to my
time
buddy Mark
for
Pulver,
me and Zach.
and yep. Why? What do you guys do in October?
October's elk season, elk and deer hunts.
Well, hey, you can skip it. October 8th, all right? Isn't I thought hunting season's usually typical. I thought end of October, isn't it?
Colorado
August
elk hunt.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
August
My
through
wife
November here.
claims.
oh,
My
you're
wife
lagging there, Joe.
claims. So my wife claims there's only two seasons. There's hunting season and match season, and they
That's about right.
sometimes they intermix.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Hunting
I've been
season
told by
usually
multiple
takes
shooters.
precedent.
I've been talking to multiple shooters that both say that that's a match you cannot miss. Is the Grand Junction, Colorado match. Apparently, it's a phenomenal facility. I've never been, so I will definitely not be missing that this year. So definitely got to hit up that one. There's a lot. I mean, like I said, I think there's like 10 of them that I'm probably gonna end up going to. There's a couple in South Dakota. There's multiple in Utah, Minnesota, Montana, Wyoming,
Yeah,
Colorado. I mean, they're
one
all
in
probably 8
Price.
hours.
I believe there's
Yep,
one in
there's one
Price,
in
Utah.
Price.
You definitely need to go to that one. Price North Springs
That
Range
one
is
is
one
gonna
to not
be
miss.
that one's gonna be a hit or miss with me because it's in February. So either it's gonna be, can I get through the mountains or not is the question. If it's a
Yeah,
nice winter, I'll be there. If it's not, there's two I would like to go to back to back. February 11th is in Hennifer, and then the next week is in Price. So I'd like to get both of those, but the problem is what kind of winter are we gonna have? Is it gonna be
yeah,
I went to a February match this year, the polar vortex in Minnesota. It was like 10 degrees and dumping snow. So, yeah, I don't know. Cold matches are fun, but I don't know if I can even get there is the question. Montana's so finicky.
Yeah,
especially
North
coming down
Springs
to
is a
Utah.
range you want to shoot at, though. It's probably one of the best in the nation. It's a
Really? Okay.
yeah, it's a
It's
phenomenal
a lot like
facility.
Cameo.
It's gigantic. It's
Okay.
huge.
Well,
As
thank you guys both for coming on. Again, this is
yeah,
kind of just a little bit of bullshit talk, but talk about the match and bullshit a little bit. You guys were a great squad to be with, and nice meeting both of you. I
yeah,
wish
you too.
Jared could have joined us, the second place match winner, but I understand he had stuff going on. But it was good shooting with you. It was good shooting with Jim. He was a really fun guy. And unfortunately, he pulled his hamstring out at the match. That sucked. I felt so bad for him.
Okay,
Um,
I got to tell you a quick story about Jim. Now,
okay.
me and Jim, because we live close together, we shoot a lot of matches. So, uh, me and Jim went to the Hennifer match, the X match, a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And he's coming off a stage and he's got bags in his arm and he's trying to do all this stuff. So I grabbed his rifle to try to help him out, right? Well, I set it down right on the edge of a wire spool and it like kicked out of my hand and dropped right on his scope, right?
Oh, see, I don't wanna touch people's guns because of that. I always get scared,
Okay.
like, you had your
It only
tripod up on one of the stages, and I didn't wanna touch it. I was like, "I'm not touching this." I'm like, "Can you move it? I don't wanna touch
it
someone else's gear and drop it."
dude, it only gets better. So, okay, I take his gun over and re-zero it, double check it, make sure everything's fine. Of course nothing moves, right? So at this match, he sets it. We pull up in the same vehicle. He puts his gun down right behind the truck, right in the at that time it was frozen. So I walk around the truck and don't see his gun and knock his gun right into a pointed rock. His scope hits a pointed rock. So
Oh.
twice, two different matches, I have jacked up his scope, and for some reason he still hangs out with me. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
That's
Oh,
just a
he was a
testament
trooper.
to that
I mean, he
Athlon
shot.
scope.
Yeah, that for
Yeah, no
shows.
doubt. And neither time did he have issues.
Yeah, they're durable. Athlon has some durable stuff, and he was a good guy. You guys were a really good group. I was glad I got a squad with you guys.
Yeah, you
Um,
too.
you guys are definitely pushed me there and made me try to do better and kind of helped me with a lot of things too. I mean, I ain't no pro shooter or nothing, so it was good shooting with you guys and good experience, and definitely learned a lot and learned to not suck. So yeah, it was a fun day. But I appreciate you guys, and yeah, next time I go to Utah, I'll definitely be hitting both of you guys up, and yeah, so thank
Hey,
you guys for
now
joining me on the podcast.
before you go, you got to tell me your match takeaway. What are you taking away from that
Hmm.
match?
My takeaway from the March meltdown is bring bogs. I should have brought bogs or mucks. That's my only
Okay.
regret the whole day was not
Okay.
having bogs or mucks.
Now I got to kick it to shooting. That's a product. What about shooting? Because I had a big takeaway. That's the only reason I ask.
Um, hmm.
Maybe you didn't have one.
You know, Honestly, not a lot. It was, normal kind of standard. I mean, again, it was a fun match. It was a challenging match, but I think it was overall just a good day. I I think really the only two stages I really did bad on were the stages where my scope was a mil and a half off right, which that really only thing that bummed me out was stage 12 and 13. But the rest of them, I mean, I felt like maybe work on my support side a little bit. I know I was a little weak on my
Always.
support side on the ladder stage going across. Um, I noticed my weak side was a little off, but other than that, I don't know. I don't think there was a lot for me to take away. I think it was more just practice and getting. I've only been shooting in general for probably almost 2 years. I'm very new to shooting. I don't hunt. I'm too much of a puss. I can't hunt. I feel bad if I shoot a prairie dog. I almost started crying. I'm a wuss. Okay. But I get it. I understand people hunting. I'm pro hunting. I myself cannot pull the trigger to kill an animal. I'm a softie. But
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm really new to shooting, so I think me is more just experience, and especially like being squatted with like you guys and stuff, like just learning a lot of different things of how you guys shoot, how you guys position on a barricade, on a prop. Um, watching how you guys not game a stage, but strategize for a stage, just, being I was the last one in the group. So I, obviously it rotated, but I got to see how pretty much all you guys shot the first couple stages first. I gotta watch all you guys. So just watching how you guys break down a stage and strategize, I thought that was a really cool experience. But no, yeah, I don't think there was a whole lot for me to take away. What was your takeaway?
Well, I realized how weak I was at a stage that is 10 positions in 90 seconds. I mean, that's basically what lost me the match. Was that, well, the dancing diamond didn't help the fact you're shooting at a quarter-inch mover. But I timed out. I only got,
That's
I don't
right. You
even
did
know.
time out. I finished before the time on that stage.
Yeah, so I don't know if I was, and yeah, I was having some feeding issues, but that regardless, like I've got to practice multiple positions, basically build and break drills and get it down in a time that where I could get through a stage that is 10 positions in 90 seconds. Granted, most of our stages are 2 minutes out west, but I just felt really weak at that stage. It was like, man, that thing smoked me.
Yeah, so a lot of our matches we'll do so I've had um one of our guys who shoots with us, he's a phenomenal shooter. Trevor Cunningham. He puts on some of our course of fires and he at first when he started doing the course of fires for us, he would do 3 minutes stages. But I mean, we're talking movement like you wouldn't believe. Not just you have that the oh lord, like tank trap or rocks, whatever. Not just like that. Like we're talking like 5-10 yards separating props. So you have to shoot, then move the next one, build, shoot. I mean, so him putting a lot of those stages in has written and him teaching me and stuff just has really helped me on movement on stages. And then I have another good shooter I shoot with, Mark Pulver, who's helped me a lot too, of just how to come up and strategize a stage and where you're going to take your shots from, how are you going to position right. You got to move quick. You don't need to be sitting there zooming in, zooming out, acquiring targets. You need to be already ready to go. So you're just get into a shot, get into a prop, making set and firing movement and go. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that wasn't too difficult for me. What about you, Jerem? What was your takeaway from this match?
Um, my biggest takeaway, and it's something I've been trying to work on for a while now, is I know I dropped at least one shot per stage because I wasn't due to poor trigger control, poor trigger squeeze, or something stuff like that. And so yeah, I really need to just
Yeah.
focus on I'm holding wind, I'm holding my my dope. I've got to my breathing's down, but then I'm just slapping that trigger just to move on, and I know I'm missing targets because of that.
You're
So that'll
pulling
be
it. Yeah.
yep, that'll be something I'll be working on in the backyard for the next few weeks. Just doing some
I'm
dry
trying to
fire
remember
drills.
what's it called? There's a drill and it's like a 4 position drill. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But it's all paper. You do it from 4 different positions and it kind of breaks down where if you're pulling, if you're pushing in, it's really cool. It's a whole drill. If I can try to remember the name, I'll send it to you. I've seen some of the guys in Lewistown, and then I know Peter Knipe, however you say his last name in the WPR, he's done it, and it's really cool. It's just a paper drill. You're doing different props and you can really see what you're doing wrong. If you're pulling your trigger hard, if you're not balanced, it's a really cool
Yeah,
drill. So
there's a few drills like that, and it's just yeah, I've just noticed it even in the monthlies. You'll get on the stage, and there's some of them that that you have, you know, time management is key, and I find myself making up that time by hurrying, just slapping that trigger and running the bolt and moving, and not you know finding the time somewhere else and getting a good solid trigger squeeze and follow through. So
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
it's
definitely
called the
something I need to
craft
work
drill.
on.
Sorry, just remembered it. Craft drill.
Yeah, yeah, I've
Yep.
heard of that
Chris
one.
Way.
Yep, yep, yep. That's a really cool drill. So Yeah, no, I think overall it was a very fun match. I'll definitely be back next year. Um, Thanks again, Weston. Was it Weston Mott, the match director, put on a really good match. Really appreciate it. Food was good. The sandwiches were delicious. Um, but yeah, thank you to him for putting on the match. Thank you to the NRL, and thank you for you two for hopping on here and being part of in my squad and helped me out a little bit and sharing some bags and showing me kind of how to do some stages. So I really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, it was
Thanks
good
for
shooting
having
with you.
us.
Hope to shoot with you again.
Yeah, well, thank you guys, and see you next time.
Bye.